Good morning, bonjour, Annie. My name is Kimberly Wahama Deshane, and I am the Operations and Events Manager with Northern Ontario Angels. Welcome to the Investor Ready Program Funders Forum. We begin this Investor Ready program by acknowledging that we are meeting virtually on Indigenous lands that have been inhabited by Indigenous peoples. We acknowledge all of the treaties and traditional territories on which all of you in attendance gather today. If you haven't already done so, please mute your audio and video channels. And you can unmute and ask questions in the chat at the end of the presentation. The Investor Ready program is in partnership with Northern Ontario Angels, the Business Centre, IION, and the City of North Bay Economic Development Department. This program is a comprehensive entrepreneurial training program designed to equip you with the skills, knowledge, and tools required to create compelling business propositions and attract potential investors. I'll now send the screen over to Natasha to introduce the speakers.
Perfect. Thank you, Kimberly. As mentioned, my name is Natasha Penn, and I'm an Economic Development Officer for the City of North Bay. I have the pleasure today of welcoming 8 guest speakers who represent a wide range of funding opportunities, programs, and services for entrepreneurs. Please note that some of the organizations that are presenting today service Northern Ontario and North Bay area. However, we do have some organizations that service Ontario-wide as well as nationwide. But be mindful because some of these organizations may have sister organizations that could be able to present or provide services and programs within your respective regions where you reside. So first off, I would like to introduce our first guest speaker today, who is Ian Lane. Ian Lane is the Executive Director of the Northern Ontario Angels. With a diverse career, he enjoys fostering connections between entrepreneurs and angel investors across Northern Ontario. Previously, Ian was the Manager of Research Capacity and Health Innovation at Health Sciences North Research Institute in Sudbury, where he helped researchers and clinicians attract funding and provide strategic planning support. Ian holds an MA from Ryerson University in Immigration and Settlement Studies, a BA in Canadian History from the University of Prince Edward Island, and a diploma in Commercial Music from Humber College. Everyone, please welcome Ian.
Good morning. Thanks for the introduction, Natasha, and thanks for everyone for logging on this morning. And Natasha mentioned that folks from across Canada have registered in this, which is great. So hopefully that you get the impression that North Bay is and its ecosystem is a great place to come and do business, grow your company, or move it entirely over here. So yeah, as Natasha mentioned, I'm the Executive Director with the Northern Ontario Angels, and we are the only accredited angel network in Northern Ontario. So what's Northern Ontario? Basically, we follow the FedNor map, and we have our colleague here that will be presenting later that represents FedNor. But we start at Muskoka, Parry Sound, and then we go up into North Bay naturally, into Timmins. I'm in Sudbury. We keep going west to Sault Ste. Marie, Thunder Bay, Kenora, almost to the Manitoba border. And then we also are doing more and more work with and for First Nations entrepreneurs and investors, predominantly in Treaty 3, which again is more in the northwestern part of our province. But really our mandate is to, or our vision really is for economic prosperity across our region by connecting angel investors to Northern Ontario entrepreneurs. So our investors are high net worth individuals that can be anywhere. They're predominantly here in Northern Ontario, and they're putting their own money into companies that are based in our region. That's one important caveat. We do have to have a tangible presence within our companies in Northern Ontario for them to access our services. But the investors are putting their own money into companies, and it's been a lot of fun to be a part of this organization over the last 2.5 years, where our investors, like I mentioned, are predominantly here. They're community builders, so they're putting their own money into these companies to help create jobs for current and future generations, to help grow the economy here locally. But for entrepreneurs, I would say, a common question that we get is, well, what am I giving up in my company by attracting a private investor? And I think a good way to reframe that is, what are you gaining? And you're gaining an ally to help you grow your company, maybe somebody that's gone through the hardships of scaling and expanding and growing their company. somebody that has unique insights into the industry and contacts. And so they're meant to be a partner along with you. I think that's maybe where the angel guide comes into the terminology. But these folks want to do well. Yeah, there's a bias. They want to make sure that they're protecting their investment 100% because they want to see a return and a successful exit from the investment that they made in your company. But they do want to see you succeed and grow, and then hopefully spawn the next generation of entrepreneurs. So really, really dynamic organization that we have. We have in excess of 200 investors across our region, and we've been looked upon as one of the more active angel groups in North America over the last number of years. So like I mentioned, our region is large. We service it as best as we can. North Bay being an important community for us. That's why we're participating in this with our great partners. I would say probably the best way to reach us if you're an entrepreneur is to go onto our webpage, which is northernontarioangels.ca. And there you're going to be able to see a button. It's towards the bottom of our page. It's a green button that says entrepreneurs. So click on that, and that's our intake form. So that begins our conversation. And it's really, you can put a lot of information around where you are, what you're doing, the type of services that you need from our organization. And then that starts our conversation. And, you know, our services are complementary to many of the people that you're here from today, but we'll help you get pitch ready. We'll go over your financials. We'll make sure that your business plan is solid, and that when you do get placed, if you're ready to be placed in front of our investors, you have a good chance of compelling them to write some of those personal checks. So like I said, go to our website, or just northernontarioangels.ca. You'll be able to access a little bit more information about who we are, what we do, and start that conversation. We also have outreach around events like this. So we do virtual events, we do private pitches, we do physical events that we have companies pitching in all of our host communities. So again, I'll direct you to our webpage, and we also are quite active on social media. Probably LinkedIn is the best route. So Northern Ontario Angels through LinkedIn, but we also have Facebook, Instagram, but I believe we sunsetted X, and I'll just leave it at that for a little intrigue for your folks. So thanks, Natasha, for kicking us off, and I look forward to hearing from everyone else here.
Thank you, Ian, for sharing. And just to note, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, we will be having Q&A at the end of the session. So please jot down your questions that you may have for any of the speakers today, and we can do a bit of Q&A at the end of the session. And also, I know this is going to be a lot of information received from a variety of different organizations. So please note this session is recorded and will be sent back out to participants that registered as well. So thank you, Ian. And next, I have the pleasure of introducing Isabelle Spence-Legault from FedNor. So having obtained a Bachelor in Social Science from the University of Ottawa, Isabelle spent 12 years of her career as the owner and operator of agri-food. This led her to participate in several local food initiatives, including the North Bay Farmers Market, the West Nipissing Agricultural Task Force, and the launch of an online farmers market, as well as the launch of Stumble Farm. She has also hosted several workshops, conferences, and completed 3 farmer-led research projects. Most recently, Isabelle served as the Northeast Outreach Coordinator for the Ecological Farmers Association of Ontario's Northern Program, and launched and expanded a successful tea line, which is available in retail locations in the Northeast and has also exhibited at the Royal Agricultural Winter Fair. She joined FedNor's Program Delivery Unit in February of this year and has recently been appointed to the Initiatives Officer for the region, North Bay, which is east to Mattawa and west to St. John's. So everyone, please welcome Isabelle.
Thank you kindly. I'm just going to drop the link to our website in the chat right away so I don't forget. And the information I share right now is available on there. Hello, bonjour, Annie. My name is Isabelle Spence-Legault and I'm an Initiatives Officer, as mentioned, with FedNor, and I work out of the North Bay office. Avant de commencer, cette présentation est aussi disponible en français. Donc, si par la suite vous voulez une présentation en français, n'hésitez pas à me rejoindre. So FedNor is the Federal Economic Development Agency for Northern Ontario. We operate through 6 6 offices. Thank you, Ian, for mentioning the map. So yeah, we are only located in Northern Ontario. Our 6 offices are kind of sparse, and then our officers cover those regions. So we don't go any further south than the Muskokas, essentially. Our programs, we have 4 main ones. So the one for private is usually our REGI program, which is called Regional Economic Growth Through Innovation. We also have one that's geared for not-for-profits and community organization, which is called our Northern Ontario Development Program. We also fund the CF, so I'm happy that Patty's here. She operates the CF out of North Bay that's called NICO. So there are CFs kind of sparse throughout the country, and that's our local one. So we help fund that. We also fund the Economic Development Agency initiative, which is for official language minority communities. As I mentioned, the one that's really geared to private sector is our REGI program. Out of that, we have something called our Business Scale-Up and Productivity Stream. And this one's really intended to accelerate the growth of firms and assist with the adoption and adaptation of new innovative technologies that support scale-up productivity and development of an entry into new markets. As with all of our funding for private sector, we do ask that companies have at least 2 years of operation. So it's really not for startups that we defer to the Community Futures program. Generally, FedNor can contribute up to 50% of eligible and supported project costs as an interest-free repayable loan. So these private sector contributions are in fact repayable, and the way that it works is at the end of the project, the applicant has 1 year before they have to start paying back the loan. We also help private sector through targeted manufacturing initiative, and that one's intended for modernizing operations, upgrading, improving equipment, using the manufacturing process. Here, the goal is really to boost productivity. So anything that would fall under like a lean management plan, for instance, would be eligible. Usually, this contribution is up to 33% of eligible capital costs, so actually buying the equipment, and up to 50% of eligible non-capital costs. So, say for instance, you needed to train your employees on the equipment. All funding contributions are repayable in these cases, and they are interest-free, and we do provide flexible repayment schedules. Also, we don't take security, which I know matters for some people. On the website, in that link that I shared, there's actually a portal. That's the way you apply to our funding. We have a 2-phase process. The first one's very streamlined. You just answer basic information about your organization, what your project is, what the economic benefits are, and your budget. And then if it fits, then we invite you to something called a detailed application. As with any application, we always suggest that you reach out to a project officer prior to applying it. And on the website under Contact Us, there's actually a link for the FedNor officers. There are different ones, like I said, for each region. The only one that's not a 2-phase is our youth internship application, which is just a 1-phase. The business would submit a work plan, and then that one allows for 50% of the intern's salary for a 12-month period, up to $35,000. We also work with regional innovation centers across the north. They offer funding for specific services and projects. Again, these are third-party agreements that we do with these organizations. Here in North Bay, we have an agreement with IION. Happy that Emily Ryan's here. So they're the Regional Innovation Center for North Bay. We also have a Tourism Growth Project Fund. That purpose is really to support small and medium-sized businesses to develop local tourism products and experiences. Our not-for-profit side's a little bit full up right now. But for any small and medium-sized business, it really needs, in order to be eligible, it really needs to be a project that brings people from urban areas. It's not enough just to draw people from your local. It needs to be bringing in folks. So for more information on any of our programs, please visit our website, call a FedNor officer in your region, because as soon as you send that application in, it's in the system. So you might have maybe stated your project differently than the way that we would like to fund it. So always make sure that you reach out first. Merci beaucoup. Thank you for attending.
Thank you so much, Isabel. So next I have the pleasure of introducing Siobhan O'Leary, who's a Northern Development Advisor with the Ministry of Northern Development. Siobhan has been providing or helping public and private sector clients to access provincial funding, including the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation, for their events and projects for over 15 years. She works out of the North Bay office, servicing clients in North Bay, Callander, Nipissing, and Restoule. Everyone, please welcome Siobhan.
Hey, everybody. I'm glad I get to follow Isabel, because we have some similarities in our program and also some differences. So the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund program is for generally residents and businesses located in Northern Ontario. And our definition of Northern Ontario is different from the federal government's. Ours excludes Muskoka. So it includes Parry Sound and Nipissing as the southernmost points, and everything north of there, north and west, and far beyond is considered Northern Ontario for the province. We have a suite of programs for private sector businesses. We have one that for new businesses called Launch. We have one for existing businesses to expand, which is called Grow. We have an intern program called People and Talent Now, which is a wage subsidy program for hiring and training new staff into your business. And we have some innovation programs as well. For today, I'm going to focus on the Launch program, just go brief overview of all of the little exciting tidbits about the program. Similar to Isabel, before you are even thinking about applying, we really do encourage you to reach out to a Northern Development Advisor. We have ones that cover every inch of Northern Ontario, who you can have a conversation with to discuss your project, to make sure that you're applying to the right program, and we can assist you along the way. We're kind of like your shepherds through the system. The Launch program has a kind of a narrow window of eligibility for businesses. So it has to be a business that is not direct to consumer services or products. What that means is it has to be offering services to businesses or corporations. You can have a professional service organization which may be eligible, such as a physiotherapist or an accountant. These would be regulated by a professional body, but you cannot have business services such as marketing or strategic planning. So that is a good reason to have a conversation, see if your project is a good fit for the program. Similar to FedNor, we do have a two-stage process where you can apply for the application. You can use the download application online. I put the link in the chat as well. And it's a very high level view of your project. It will be assessed, and if it's deemed a fit with program, you would be requested to submit a complete proposal within 60 days. And then that proposal gets evaluated by a third party. If the evaluation is reviewed by the NOHSC board, who make a decision on your file. So that process can take between 8 and 10 months. It's a long process, but the date of your application, of your initial application, you can start incurring expenses. And if your project is deemed is approved, you can recoup those expenses. We fund on a reimbursement basis, so you would be required to pay your invoices and then submit them for reimbursement. Our funding is based on funding our eligible costs, which can include capital costs, which can be equipment or capital leases, leasehold improvements to any owned or rented space for your business, any type of servicing you may need, like bringing in fiber, a limited amount of marketing, and some third-party training. Our funding programs for Launch are a grant-based program, so they do not have to be repaid. They fund at 50% to a maximum of $200,000. So that means if you wanted to access the maximum amount, your eligible costs would have to total at least $400,000. There is a requirement to create one full-time job with the project. That full-time job has to be realized within 18 months of signing your legal agreement. And a full-time job under NOHSC's definition is 1,500 hours of work, which works out to about 30 hours a week with 2 weeks of vacation thrown in there. Applicants do need to be providing 15% cash towards their project, and they have to identify other sources of funding, in their initial application as well. So you may need bridge financing, so you should be reaching out early to have those conversations with potentially other funders, potentially banks or other ways you might be accessing the funding for your project. In general, it's always best to reach out early and have conversations with your NOHFC advisor. As I said, there's one of us covering all across the north. Do some really good research even before you apply. Understand your competition, understand your unique offerings to the market, understand your costs and operating costs, capital costs, what they might be, and understand how you may be financing your project outside of potentially NOHFC funding. We're always open to have a conversation. We work closely with all of our partners in our region. So if our program isn't a fit for you, we can provide an introduction to perhaps another funder that may be a better fit. Always within our region and across Northern Ontario, and certainly Southern Ontario as well, the regional business centers are really a critical part of building your repertoire of resources for your small business. So hoping that is your first stop. And then we will look forward to having a conversation with you further down the road. That's it for me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Siobhan. And on to our next speaker, who is Kennedy Johnston from Futurepreneur. So Kennedy is the Business Development Manager of Northern Ontario for Futurepreneur. She has worked with young entrepreneurs for many years through her current role and also through the Business Centre of Nipissing Parry Sound. Kennedy is also the head of the North Bay and Area Chamber of Commerce Young Professionals. So everyone, please welcome Kennedy.
Thanks, Natasha, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for attending. As Natasha mentioned, I'm Kennedy Johnston, the Business Development Manager for Northern Ontario with Futurepreneur Canada. Futurepreneur offers loan financing, mentorship, and business resources to entrepreneurs between the ages of 18 to 39. We have multiple programs for young entrepreneurs, and these programs are available across Canada. So I do have a few programs to go through, starting with our core startup program. So where entrepreneurs could receive up to $75,000 in collateral-free loan financing. $75,000 is made up of $25,000 from Futurepreneur. An additional $50,000 may be provided by the BDC, the Business Development Bank of Canada. The business must be less than 24 months of full-time operation. Both Futurepreneur and BDC's interest rates are variable, meaning they can change at any point in time. Futurepreneur's interest rate is charged at the CIBC prime rate plus 3, and the BDC loan is the BDC floating base rate plus 1.65. So for our core startup program, it is required to have a credit in good standing, as we will conduct a hard credit check upon submitting your application documents. Application documents for our core startup program include a business plan and a 2-year cash flow forecast, and they must be in our templates. In addition to this program, we actually do offer 2 years of mentorship should you be approved for financing. Secondly, we have our side hustle program where you could receive up to $25,000 in collateral-free loan financing through this financing is coming solely from Futurepreneur. The business has to have no intention of becoming a full-time business, and it must demonstrate a full-time sustainable income outside of the business. Futurepreneur's interest rates, like I said, in the course, same as the core startup program, they are variable, and Futurepreneur's interest rate is charged at CIBC prime rate plus 3. Same thing for this program. We will conduct a hard credit check and upon you submitting your application documents. And for our side hustle, the application documents are a little bit different. We ask that you submit a business attestation. So similar to a business canvas model, a little bit less intense as the business plan, as well as the 2-year cash flow forecast. And this program also offers 2 years of mentorship. So going into a little bit more detail of the mentorship. So like I said, upon being approved for financing, you have access to 2 years of mentorship. Basically, once you apply, you will complete a needs assessment with our mentorship team to identify the challenges you face in your business. Based on the assessment, our mentorship team will match you with someone in areas of the business you're not as comfortable in. Once you're matched with a mentor, you will meet with that mentor for 4 or 5 hours a month, whether it's in person or virtual. Our mentors are located across Canada, so it will just depend on your needs and challenges in the business. We also have programs for young entrepreneurs who identify as Black or Indigenous. These programs are run by business development managers with lived experience to help guide you on your business journey. So a little bit about these programs. Our Black Entrepreneurship Startup Program, also referred to as BESP. It's the same as the core startup program with up to $75,000 in collateral-free loan financing. However, our BESP program offers up to $40,000 in additional follow-on financing opportunities from Futurepreneur. Of course, there's some conditions that may apply with that additional follow-on financing, as long as you meet eligibility criteria. So our Indigenous Entrepreneurship Startup Program, also known as our IESP program, it is the exact same program as our core startup program, $75,000 in collateral-free loan financing. However, the entrepreneur has the opportunity to work with a business development manager with lived experience, which is very valuable. So that's a summary of our programs. Additionally, we have workshops available. One in which it's Rock My Business series, where it's a 3-part workshop series which provides you with tools and knowledge to advance your business idea, formalize a business plan, create a viable cash flow, and it also gives you the opportunity to connect with other young entrepreneurs across Canada. So typically, if you're in the early stages, the idea stage, the cash flow, like I said, this workshop is for you. And we will be hosting another session come November. So keep an eye on our website for more information on that. And finally, we actually are hosting an in-person event in North Bay at Canadore College on October 30th. It's called Roadmap to Your Startup Success. And we will have Dominic Longcar, our entrepreneur in residence, coming to North Bay to do a 2.5-hour workshop with entrepreneurs to determine what stage they're at with their business startup, understand next steps in their entrepreneurial journey, and gain foresight as to when and how it's best to launch your business. So this is an in-person event. You can attend this event in North Bay. Like I said, there's the Rock My Business series, which is a virtual workshop. So I will link our website in the chat, as well as I will link the Eventbrite link in there as well for the North Bay event. And otherwise, I appreciate your time and I look forward to your questions at the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Kennedy, and thank you for sharing information about the upcoming events, both virtual and in person as well. So next, I have the pleasure of introducing Patty Carr from NICO. So Patty Carr has spent her career supporting small and medium-sized businesses across the region. Her tenure of 32 plus years with the North Bay and District Chamber of Commerce promoted all sectors of business in the North Bay region. For the past 3 years, Patty has been employed as the Executive Director with NICO Community Futures Development Corporation, where she continues with business counseling, business supports, and financing for small business startups and expansions within the Nipissing East and East of Parry Sound regions. Please welcome Patty.
Thanks very much, Natasha. Merci, everybody that's gone before me as well, because this is a good segue into the Community Futures Program, as Isabel had explained as well. The Community Futures, we have 25 offices across the Northern Ontario portion. Of course, there's 35 more in the Southern Ontario and across Canada. So anybody that is not from our area can actually access these great programs as well. So Community Futures, we are actually a not-for-profit, even though we are supported operationally by FedNor, which is wonderful. We take on the private sector businesses, new startups and expansions, whereas you'll see FedNor deals with a lot more with the companies that are already in operation, the communities, the municipalities, and the not-for-profits as well. We will take on the private sector. So we also have the internship program that Isabel spoke about on the private sector side. So having said that, though, one of the good things of us being a not-for-profit, when you do go for funding with the different government agencies like the province or the federal government, We are not included in the stacking requirements or percentages that they actually have in place for somebody's great idea. So sometimes they do have to come to NICO or Community Futures to do some additional funding. Our area is East Nipissing and East Perry Sound. So it's mostly the corridor of Highway 11 down to actually Algonquin Park, east to Mattawa and north to Martin River. Our business financing is to a maximum of $300,000. We ask that somebody has at least 10% cash, if not more, to put into their own ideas and their new business. We do business counseling, or we do referrals to many of these colleagues on the line today. If we need professional assistance, we can do those referrals as well. We also support community economic development projects and events throughout the region. So some of our municipalities do take some interest in that program. And as I said, we do the private sector youth intern. We first ask you if you've gone to your traditional banking, because we are certainly not in a competition with the banks or the credit unions, and they are going to be your first points as a business owner, your day-to-day operating. But if for some reason they are unable to help you with funding to get you started or to expand your business, NICO might be an option. And we would ask the same kind of things that all the other programs are asking for: is your business plan and your financial forecasting. If you're already in business, we'll ask for some financials from previous years. And we'll look at your application to see if we can assist. We do ask for security on most of our loans. But if there's a small micro loan, we can certainly help you out in the meantime. As Siobhan also said, sometimes you need bridge funding because you've been granted something from NOHFC, and we can also help you on that. So you have to pay up front and submit your bills to be refunded through NOHFC. Our maximum amortization is 15 years. So usually banks can give you better interest rates and better terms. Unfortunately, ours are just a little bit higher, and we must maintain Bank of Canada Prime +2 at the minimum, and sometimes it goes up depending on the risk or if we don't have enough security on the loans. Our average loans are 5 to 7 years in our region. And so those seeking larger loans, of course, we do have colleagues on the line today that can also assist, and we may partner with them as well. So that's something to think about. The only things that we don't fund is debt consolidation and wages for your staff. Everything else pretty much gets covered. Could be working capital, equipment, buildings, vehicles, and overhead. Those are all eligible costs. One good thing about NICO is we don't have an application fee. Some places do. We don't have an application fee, and we don't do any penalties on early payout or lump sum payments. So sometimes it's a little bit easier to deal with our loans and get them paid out faster. Anyway, thank you very much for having me today, and I'll let it go to my next colleague.
Thank you, Patty, and sorry to technical difficulties. Hopefully you can hear a little. So next up, we will introduce Alex Scott, B2C. So Alex Scott received his Bachelor of Business Administration from Nipissing University and his Master of Business Administration from Carleton University. His professional experience in finance has been with RBC as a business account manager and now with BDC as an account manager. Alex has also been a teacher at Canada College on a part-time basis. So please, everyone, welcome Alex.
Thanks, Natasha. Appreciate that. Perfect to segue from Patty at NICO. We operate very closely with the CFDCs. We're basically in between the CFDC and your traditional lending bank. So we will do funding on real estate, equipment, and working capital. So we only do term lending. We don't do credit cards, lines of credit, or bank accounts. So we partner very well with our chartered banks. We partner very well with our community members also, such as NICO and the CFDC, NOHFC. We've done a ton of projects with them as well. So where BDC can support is in growth and transition. We can also support in your typical real estate funding, so buying land, buildings. We can do real estate up to 25 years, such as your chartered bank will. We can do equipment up to 12 years, and we can do working capital up to 8 years. We don't have a limit on the amount of funding we can do. It would be based on risk, obviously the asset that you're purchasing, and what your business can support. We also have another side apart from the financing. We have advisory services, so we can help your business grow in a variety of capacities: sales and marketing, strategic planning, human resource management, financial management, selling online. We have a variety of capabilities. So that would be partnering you with the correct advisors who have experience with your industry, as well as having experience with what you are trying to do specifically. So we work very well, as I said, with our partners. We obviously need you to have a chartered bank that can support with the operating needs and the day-to-day lending. But we are there to support businesses as they grow. We can also support startup businesses as well. That basically sums up BDC. We are a federal crown corporation, so we are found in every corner of every single province and territory. We have availability to draw within several different programs. We have a Women Entrepreneur Fund. We also have an Indigenous Entrepreneur Loans. So we have a variety of different tools and capacities that we can use to help service underserved markets. I'm going to leave my email and my phone number in the chat as well. I won't be able to stick around for the question and answer, but if anyone has anything, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. Even if you're not in North Bay and you're looking at starting a business outside of my catchment, I can definitely help set you up with the right people. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. And on to the next presenter, who is Vincent Galea. Vincent is the Business Development Advisor for the Business Center of Nipissing Parry Sound. Vincent has been with the Business Center since 2018, after starting with them after graduating with Nipissing University with a BBA and with a focus in marketing. Over the last 6 years, Vince has become passionate about business development and growth by helping aspiring and existing entrepreneurs organize themselves for their startups or expansion journeys. Vincent currently runs the Start a Company Plus program in our region, in which entrepreneurs learn business planning and different skills and are given a chance to pitch for a grant of up to $5,000. Everyone, please welcome Vince.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Natasha. Okay, so as Natasha said, I'm Vince from the Business Center. I'm the Business Development Advisor here. So for those of you who might not know, the Business Center Nipissing Parry Sound, we are a provincially funded not-for-profit organization, and we strive to help entrepreneurs at every stage of their journey. So we believe at TBC that successful businesses build thriving communities, and our goal is to assist entrepreneurs, both existing and aspiring, by providing them things like free training, resources, programs, advisory services, and things of that nature. We do service all of those aspiring and existing entrepreneurs in all of the municipalities located in the Nipissing and Parry Sound federal districts. So if you are in those areas, please feel free to reach out to us for those services. So going into those services, one of our main services is one-on-one consultations, which is the main portion of my job, where we assist with things like planning logistics, finding funding, business planning, things of that nature, where it doesn't cost anything. It is a social service, free to meet. Feel free to reach out if you are interested in any of those. We also do have some programs that we run. So the first one that Natasha already mentioned is our Starter Company Plus program, where entrepreneurs, if they get into the program, because it is competitive to get into, will work through a series of workshops on either a business plan or a business model canvas, where you are then, if you complete all the requirements and attend all the workshops, given the opportunity to pitch to an external committee for a grant of up to $5,000 that you could put towards any permanent cost that can help your business in some capacity. So as long as it's a permanent cost, such as like equipment or web design or something of that nature, as opposed to a cost that is consumed by the business, like inventory or general operating expenses, insurance, rent, things like that. We also have another program for youth entrepreneurs who are returning to school from the ages of 15 to 29. So if you fall in that category and you are returning to high school or post-secondary education come the fall, you're effectively able to do this program as like a trial run on entrepreneurship. The first portion of the program, you get $1,500 that you can put towards your startup expenses to kind of get your small business up and running. And then once you complete the program, if you complete all the requirements over the summer months and do the required hours, you are then given the remaining $1,500 that you can put towards any cost that you see fit, even in your personal life, if you want to use it for your schooling, like your books or a new computer or anything like that. We also do events throughout the region, as well as different training opportunities. We have resources that we develop. We provide a lot of referrals after consultations to the public and private support organizations, some of which, of course, are on this call today. So that's kind of an overview of our services in a nutshell. We do have a website that I will attach in the chat room after this, where on that website, you can fill out a pre-consultation form to book an appointment. You can find any resources that might be applicable to your business. You can apply for our programs when the applications become available. And also we have different links to register your business, whether it be through Owner, which is a licensed third-party registration provider, or through the Service Ontario. And then just a note for us in small business centers, in case there are any entrepreneurs who are outside of our region, we are part of a larger collective called the Small Business Centers of Ontario, or SBC Ontario. And we have 47 small business centers across the regions of Ontario. And they are great for, looking at different community events around Ontario. They have some amazing e-learning modules that are available in a wide variety of different business topics. So I would highly suggest going to their website. So I will link that in the chat after this as well. And through them, you can maybe find, if you don't know it exists, you might have a small business center that's in your region. Most likely you do, that provides very similar services to us that I'm sure would be able to assist you if that is something you're looking for. But that basically concludes the overview on the Business Center. If anyone has any questions in the Q&A, I'll be happy to answer them as best as I can. And yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much, Vince. Next up is Emily Ryan with IION. So Emily Ryan is the Advisory and Client Services Officer at Innovations Initiatives Ontario North, known as IION. Emily has worked directly with innovative businesses over the past 10 years, providing business advisory services and connections to industry organizations, resources, and funding opportunities. Emily is the lead for IION's Step Forward Entrepreneurs Program, also known as SFEP, the Accelerate Advisory Service, and the Core 5, which is Ontario Vehicle Innovation Network OVIN initiative. Everyone, please welcome Emily.
Morning, everyone. Thank you, Natasha. As Natasha said, I'm Emily and I work at IION. No one calls us our full name, so IION is good. It's a mouthful. So we are one of 16 regional innovation centers in the province. So you'll see I added a second link, Innovate, on there. So if you are outside the districts of Nipissing, Temiskaming, Parry Sound, and Muskoka, but based in Ontario, there will be a regional innovation center that can assist you. So that's what that link is for. And the other one is our website internally. I will just preface that our services are all similar within the regional innovation centers, but our funding programs are unique to IION. So you have to be located in our districts to tap into our services and programs. But as a regional innovation center, we're very similar to the business centers. We just have a different clientele. So our mandate is the innovative client. So an entrepreneur or an established company who has invented a product, process, or service that they're looking to commercialize and continue to scale. So I know everyone always asks, well, what does innovation mean? Everyone always has a different definition. We always say it's something that's proprietary to that company. So you have actually invented it. You potentially have intellectual property on it. It is very, you own it, basically. So if you say are based in North Bay, you're bringing a piece of technology from Toronto and you're going to be the first one in Northern Ontario with this machine. Unfortunately, you didn't create that machine. So it's a unique service to Northern Ontario. It is not an innovative company. So that's kind of where our definition is there. We have one-on-one consultants, advisory services, access to free market intelligence. We have industry connections, introductions to funders, angel investors, etc. And then we have our internal programming. So first is our Accelerate program. This is for startup companies or those early stages that need a roadmap and a strategy in order to get to their next stage. We have partnered with 2 consultants, one in North Bay and one in Muskoka region, to work one-on-one with these clients to kind of hold their hands and develop that strategy. And IION covers the cost of the client working with that consultant. And then we have 2 federally funded programs. One is the Step Forward Entrepreneurs program. It is up to a $10,000 grant and covers 50% of costs. So to get $10,000, you would have to spend at minimum $20,000 before tax. And it helps in a very wide range of activities, but you can kind of pool them under sales and market growth, product development, and productivity enhancements. So this can cover anything from your travel and attendance at trade shows to grow your market, any travel costs associated with that, marketing plans, sales strategies, working with consultants on lean manufacturing, feasibility studies. It can cover intellectual property costs, can cover purchasing equipment and software, can cover 3D renderings and machining of prototypes. So as you can see, the list can go on and on. And our second one is the Skills Development Placement Program. This is what we call a human development program. It is a 16-week wage subsidy where companies can hire an individual to work with them for 16 weeks on a specific project. And that runs every summer between May and August. Again, it has to be an innovative company, but the individual can be working on any type of growth project to help them scale and accelerate their business. We call it a human development program because not only do we give the wage to the company to support the cost of hiring that person, the participant or the employee also does personal and professional development training with us. And these skills are identified by our clients of when I hire someone, they're missing these soft skills. So we provide training opportunities on those. So that's kind of IION's core stuff. And then as stated, we're also a part of the Ontario Vehicle Innovation Network. So if you are developing anything for the BEV, EV sector specific to critical minerals, so how to get those minerals out of the ground cheaper, better, more efficiently in order for batteries to be created for the EV sector, that's kind of where we play. There's funding support, there's R&D centers and grants available to test your equipment in an actual underground mine in Sudbury. So happy to chat about any open type projects as well. So I think that's everything. Thanks everyone, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Emily. And thank you to all of our presenters today. So now what I will do is open it up to the floor to see if there's any questions for any of the presenters that we had today. Again, this presentation will be sent out via email because I know there was a lot of information shared. And then you can kind of reconnect with any of us to ask any questions as well. But really encourage anyone that has any questions to please put your hand up or to unmute yourself and start talking. Also, if you feel more comfortable, please pop it in the chat and I'm happy to read it out as well. So we do have one question that is in the chat. Hi all, thank you to all the presenters. Generally, how is funding impacted by projects already completed or currently underway? So I believe, I guess each funder would have a different answer to this because some funders would need to be involved from the get-go and some won't. Are there any funders that are available to help or assist after the project is underway? How about we start with that? Hearing none, I believe the majority of our funding organizations, Sean, would need to be engaged prior to the project already starting, just so they could get a sense of the project budget, and then kind of go from there. Ian or Kennedy, I know that Alex isn't available, but is there any opportunities for your organizations to come in after the fact or to kind of help in their next stage? How does that work? I'll start with Ian and then we'll move to Kennedy.
Yeah, Thanks, Natasha. I was just thinking about that, and yeah, I suppose for us, like a de-risking mechanism for our investors is to have a project that you've successfully completed. You've got if it's in an academic type of a technology transfer thing, you've got a product, you've got some validated data to support it, maybe a publication. So if you've had a completed project and it's gone the way that you feel like it should, then you have some evidence to put it in front of our investors, and that's the de-risking mechanism. So yeah, but our investors do come in at an early stage sometimes, depending on who the founder is, depending on what the idea, what the company is, to maybe help them with that early ideation capital. But typically they like to see something that's done and some evidence around it. So yeah, this is probably where we would come in. Thank you, Natasha.
Perfect. Thank you, Ian. And then on to Kennedy.
Yeah, for sure. So Futurepreneur will support businesses within 24 months of full-time operation. So what that means is you can currently be operating when you come to Futurepreneur. So basically you have up to that 2-year mark to come and see us. And of course, so the application process takes 10 plus weeks if eligible and approved. So it's important that you're not coming to us at that 2-year mark because you will be deemed ineligible because it has to be within that 24-month period. So you can certainly come to us if the project is started. We'd be more than happy to help and support and guide.
Perfect. Thank you, Kennedy. I hope that answers your question, Sean. So a few funders are available to come in and support. As mentioned too, obviously one project, it's great to be able to showcase some of those successes when you go in for a second phase or maybe an expansion on something that you're doing. You can kind of showcase your successes and utilize that in future funding opportunities. Are there any other questions that anyone has? Again, feel free to chuck it in the chat or to raise your hand. Well, so I am waiting. I'm going to pick on Ian one more time. Just one of the questions that came out through when people registered. What are the key criteria when evaluating investment opportunities within the real estate sector?
Oh, that's a good question. We don't do a ton of real estate. Our thesis, I guess, is more technology based. But I think when we do real estate, it's or a universal truth around that evaluation is who's the founder, like who's the team that's making the request for capital. And so you're going to want to see that the team is reliable. Maybe if they've done some stuff in the past. For real estate, you're going to want to have security. Like what, from an investor standpoint, they're taking some risk by partnering with you. Should anything go wrong, how are they going to be able to get their money out of the opportunity? So what type of capital is already in there? What type of security is available to them when they're looking at it? Also having really polished financials. I think we heard from everyone in the call today, whether you have revenue as an established business or as one that's just starting out, be able to have rationale around the research or the evidence in your financial statements that it's real, it's pragmatic, and that you'll be able to execute upon it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ian. If we don't hear or see any other questions, what I may do is we can start to close the session. Again, we will send out an email with the recording as well as a survey for you to please respond back, and then you get entered in for a chance to win a gift card. Also, our emails will be attached in that email sent out. So please feel free to connect in with Kimberly, myself, or Jen or Vincent at the Business Center. We're happy to help coordinate which path is best for you and your business. I know there were a lot of organizations that presented today, so we're kind of able to help navigate through that funding, all the different funding agencies. So thank you to everyone, and thank you so much to our speakers for participating today in the Investor Ready program. Please note we do have our next session, which is scheduled for next Thursday, which is about tax planning and financial strategies being presented from BDO. So please visit the event page to register for the other sessions. The Zoom link is the exact same as the one today, so feel free to jump on in. Again, thank you everyone. Merci and miigwech.